let's get this thing rolling. What do you say?
Yes, I'm good to go. We've got a few viewers on here. It looks like it's working. Everybody can hear us. We're happy campers.
All right. So you guys joined us because you want to learn about fasting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to keep this thing probably around 60 minutes or so. We will have questions for the end that we will go over for anybody that has questions for us.
Before we start, can we pull up their live chat just to make sure we have it in case anybody has an interruption?
We will pull up the live chat and we will do what we can with that. All right.
Cool.
Let me get the pop-up window.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about this fasting. Let's get into it. I'm ready. We did this originally on Facebook Live, and we had so many technical difficulties that we just ended up having to delete the video, and we were super sad because we had so much good information. People were asking brilliant questions, and we were so bummed out because it was like,
yeah, a little robotic. So why fasting? Why are we talking about this? Well, so this is something that we've played around with for quite some time. It's something that's really impacted our lives in a very profound way, very positive way, and has really helped us move through our cycles of healing. And
so many cycles of healing.
There is. And when you are healing your body and you are repairing your body and really wanting to take care of it, this is probably one of the quickest routes to do so. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there on fasting, and a lot of people may deem it to be dangerous or it may be too extreme. But from our findings and doing tests on ourselves and also using this with some of our clients, I mean, it is incredible, some of the effects, the positive effects that it has.
There are some situations where you want to make sure you are under supervision from a healthcare provider before embarking on a fast. So always, 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 please, please, please talk to your doctor, your naturopath doctor, whomever you go to for treatment, and make sure that you don't have any concerns or health conditions that might be dangerous to monitor while fasting.
Yes. So it can definitely, you do want to talk to somebody, a medical professional, before you embark on this. But anyways, so why fast? Well, many of us, as you know, especially in the Western world and in the United States, particularly, we are living with a lot of different diseases. We are living with heart disease, cancer, we're suffering from strokes. The list goes on, and the numbers are only rising, right? And a lot of this has to do with our diets and what we're putting into our bodies on a daily basis. We are polluting our bodies constantly, and it's now disrupting the function and the livelihood and within our being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So we need to start to reverse this and try and get back to our roots and get back to connection. And fasting will help us do all of this and put all these puzzle pieces together. And we're going to get into that and explain that. We're going to talk about why fasting, what is fasting, types of fast, and benefits, and then also give you tips and tricks on how to get into this.
Essentially, our bodies just need a break every now and then. Like, that's as simple as you can break it down to. Giving your body a break to rest and heal. It's super intelligent. It's going to do what it needs to do. So it's about you allowing it that space to really kick in that self-healing mechanism and thrive.
That's right. So it's not only our diet that that's really killing us, but it's also the drinking water, which is especially the tap water, a lot of fluoride, heavy metals, PCBs, and the list goes on. And this is something that we're very passionate about as well, because water is life. Our body is made up of mostly water, so we want to be consuming clean water. And again, we've done videos on that, so you can refer back to that. The food, as I mentioned, we're taking in a lot of processed artificial foods.
Fake foods, not even real foods, guys.
Not even real. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, MSG, aspartame, corn syrup, BHT, and the list goes on.
Is he rapping?
I am rapping.
Kind of sounded like a rap.
Man, I could flow. I don't know. That might be my next career. We'll see.
I don't know in this lifetime, babe.
So then we have our cosmetics and personal care products. We have the phthalates, the parabens, the synthetic, the dyes, and again, the BHT. We have air, the industries, the oil, the mining, the natural gas, the factories, the 700 new chemicals that are affecting our environment every single year. Okay?
Maybe you do have something.
I do have something.
You know, we're laughing and smiling and joking right now, but guys, this is pretty serious. Like, we are in the chemical era. We are experiencing at this point in our lives something that we've never experienced before as a human species. And to think that we've got it all figured out that, oh, these things don't harm us in small quantities. Well, where are the studies that show all of these small quantity harmless things compiled together, because we're exposed to all of them, not just one of them, not just two of them, but all of them constantly. So, second.
Yeah, so this is really polluting our bodies, and our detoxification pathways, which is our liver, our kidneys, our sweat glands, our colon, are all being compromised. They are all being compromised to the point where they can't function at 100%. So we need to give them a break. We need to give them a chance to rest, to recuperate, and to heal. So that's why we're doing this video. We want to talk about fasting and how it can recuperate, rejuvenate all of these organs, all of your detoxification pathways, right?
Absolutely.
So
really quickly, though, I just want to say, for some people who think that fasting is a little extreme, and we're going to go into detail about the different kinds of fasts, of course, and cleansing, but the reason we have survived this long is because of our ability to fast and to go without food for an extended period of time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today. It's not because of our crazy, awesome hunting skills from thousands of years ago. It's because we knew how to appropriately allow our bodies to go into fasting mode so that we could survive to the next who knows how long before we got food.
Yep. Absolutely. And this is something that has been a practice for thousands of years amongst many different cultures around the world. And I know a lot of you, I don't know what everybody's spiritual and religious beliefs are, but I can guarantee you, if you are Christian, if you are relate to Judaism, to Buddhism, in every single one of these religions, you are experiencing, or you have seen, religious texts that relate to fasting and these religious leaders that are talking about fasting. Mm-hmm. It's been talked about for centuries and continues to be talked about.
Absolutely.
So what is fasting? It's a multifaceted, multidimensional, multisensory experience that has this magnificent ability to initiate a powerful metamorphosis within an individual over a short period of time. That's the best definition I can possibly give you.
That was a good definition, guys.
So purposely removing food, I know it can be really difficult.
At first. You get used to it, believe it or not.
You definitely get used to it. But removing this food is a very powerful way to consciously engage with the inner self, evoking deep personal transformation on all levels. As I mentioned, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do embark on a fast, a lot of, when we're going to get into this, we're going to talk about the physical aspect of it, and then we're going to get into the emotional and spiritual aspect of it, because what happens is it seems as if our world is somewhat stripped away, and this is some fat that's on our body starts to kind of, you get rid of some of that, and
toxic waste and sludge is dispelled.
Yeah, and that's through ketosis, which we will get into. And then the emotional part of it, which is extremely important. There's a lot of emotions that come up during fasting, and this is something that I think can be one of the most difficult aspects of fasting, but one of the most important. a lot of us, we hear fasting for weight loss and losing all this weight, and you do lose weight, don't get me wrong, but it's the shadow parts of ourselves that we really get into, which is, that's her specialty. That's right there.
My realm right there.
So all of these systems that we have within our body are interconnected. So we are body, mind, soul. This is why we take the holistic approach to health and to healing. The holistic approach, the body, mind, soul approach, is integrating everything together to heal the body, right? And this is what fasting does. It takes all of these aspects and it helps to heal the body.
Yes.
So, types of fasts.
Well, first, we should say intermittent fasting. Like he'd said, people are kind of jumping on board this intermittent fasting for weight loss, things of that sort. We all intermittent fast when we go to bed, right? You go into, that's why breakfast is called break fast. You're breaking the fast of the night before. You ever notice when you wake up in the morning, if you have eczema or psoriasis or rosacea or any other weird skin autoimmune disorder, do you notice that when you wake up in the morning, you're like 50% cleared than the day before, but then as soon as you eat breakfast, it's back to where it was before you went to sleep? That's your body healing. That's your body doing its work. But just fasting alone at night isn't long enough if you're trying to get to the root cause of things. You really got to stir some stuff up. So when we're talking about fasting and cleansing, we like to do 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, even sometimes up to 7 days of different kinds of fasts and cleanses, which are?
We have water fasts. So that is the most talked about fast. If you were just to talk about fasting in a general sense, water fasting is probably the one that comes up the most. That's the one that most people know of, right? So it's essentially just drinking clean water, preferably reverse osmosis or even distilled water for an extended period of time.
With added Himalayan pink salt.
For some minerals. But you can do 1, 2, 3, up to, there's people that do 40 to 60 day fasts under medical supervision. There's a center in California called True North. And
shout out to Dr. Alan Goldhammer.
That's right.
Whoop, whoop.
We interviewed him on our podcast, and if you check out the Soul and Wonder podcast, you can find that episode. But he runs True North, which does supervised water fast, and generally the clients that come in there go from about 20 to 40 days. And these are people with serious chronic conditions that they're trying to reverse, and many of them walk out of there healed.
Absolutely.
Then we have juice fasts. So juice fasts is essentially just drinking juice, fresh juice, not Minute Maid.
No, not from concentrate. Never from concentrate, guys.
For an extended period of time. Then we have mono fruit fasts, which are really not talked about that much, but one of our teachers and our mentors, Dr. Robert Morris, shout out to Dr. Robert Morris.
Morse.
He is a naturopath and biochemist in just south of Sarasota, Florida, and he specializes in a lot of mono fruit fasts, particularly grape fasts, watermelon fasts. Why?
Or oranges.
Why? Grapes, citruses, oranges and lemons, watermelon, the melons, the cantaloupes, the honeydews. Those are all astringent fruits. They help to pull toxins from the lymphatic system. They help pull toxins from the GI tract. They help to really flush out the system. They replenish it, especially the melons, with high electrolyte living water that really, really heals the body and hydrates the body on a very high level to really flush out those kidneys and get things moving again.
I tell you what, if you want to feel the energies of the foods you eat, do a mono fruit fast, because then as soon as you eat something else that's not that fruit, you'll notice an immediate change in the way that you feel, the way you feel energy coursing through your body, even spiritually, mentally. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we're going to get into those physical and emotional and spiritual benefits from the mono fruit fasting specifically, because that really does. I mean, every fast really will give you that, but it's kind of different on different types of fasts. And as I mentioned, these mono fruit fasts are so healing to the body. I mean, Dr. Morse is doing some incredible stuff. He's healed thousands of people from stage 4 cancers to MS to Alzheimer's, and he can talk to you all about all that. We're not going to get into that, and we can't make medical claims because we are not
medical doctors,
care professionals or practitioners. So, the last fast we'll talk about is a dry fast, which is probably the most difficult fast one could probably go through.
And can be dangerous. So once again, talk to your healthcare provider before even thinking about doing something like a dry fast.
But every day, you do it at night when you sleep. So sleeping for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, you are dry fasting, unless you wake up in the middle of the night.
Like this guy.
And grab a little sip of water because you get a little thirsty.
And then go pee at 4 a.m. because you drank too much water, and then wake me up.
It's the problem with sleeping with your mouth open. Your mouth gets a little dry.
He's a mouth breather.
Don't tell him my secrets. So those are the main 4 types of fasts. But again, they do vary on how you heal and the types of things you feel while you're doing these fasts. So we can kind of touch on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. So how and why does fasting work to heal the body? So when one embarks on a fast, our body enters the same cycle of detoxification as when we sleep, as we mentioned, right? So you're going into this mini fast when you sleep, but then you break it at breakfast. Now with a fast, you're ideally going to be going more than 6 or 7 hours. You're going to be going for at least 24 hours up to possibly 7 days or so when you're doing this. So the energy that would be allocated to digesting your foods is spent on actually cleansing your body and removing the toxic waste. So
we spend about 50% or more of energy on our digestive process. So imagine if you don't have any food or limited food or pre-digested food such as melons in your system or out of your system, whatever, you energy for. Your body's like, oh my God, I have all of this energy. What am I going to do? I'm going to heal myself.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it does, because when it's not spending time on breaking down foods, which is depending upon what you're eating, if you're eating a lot of acid forming foods, meat and dairy, and you're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, the amount of time to digest these foods, especially meat and dairy, take forever to break down in the system, and oftentimes they begin putrefying in your system, causing more problems, and that's why you're seeing a lot of inflammation, acidosis, and ultimately disease. That is another topic for another day. So, however, they do break down faster. Fruits especially.
They're life-giving.
They are. Melons essentially pre-digested and break down really quick within 5 to 10 minutes. But this is something that, again, we can talk about a little bit later. So what happens? You're not eating, you're not feeding the body unless you're on a mono fruit fast, which is a little bit different. We'll get into that. If you're doing water fasting, you're doing juice fasting, you're not feeding the body, and the body doesn't have to work to break down all of these foods, so it starts to heal. Okay, and why does it do this? So what happens is that within 18 to 21 hours, our glycogen storages, which we have in our body, start to begin to be used up, and our body enters a state of ketosis. I said this earlier.
Burns that fat.
So ketosis is where the fat storages are. Your body starts to begin to burn these fat storages. So this is why you see a lot of weight loss very rapidly and quickly, is because the fat storages in your body is trying to find energy anywhere it can. So it starts to go after those fat storages. And oftentimes, well, I should say all the time, within those fat storages are toxins. They're built up. They kind of nudge themselves into these fat cells, and they stay there, and they can't really be removed until you do some sort of intensive fast where your body starts to burn these fats. So the bacteria, the viruses, the waste products are all starting to become basically drained out of the body through your different organs. So This is why short and long-term conditions often begin to fade away quickly. I mean, we've heard some crazy stories.
Even within ourselves. I mean, shoot, our experiences alone. My battle with severe eczema, like, wow, guys, doing a water fast saved my life. I mean, it was intense, but we can get into that a little bit.
I wish we had some. We'll share one of those pictures. I'm sure some of you have probably seen the famous picture of Sarah.
My beautiful face was floating all around social media with this disgusting, monstrous eczema that was like gone like this after a water fast. So,
but it did heal very rapidly after the water fast. Water fasts are just incredible. You'll see the amount of healing like just tripled on a water fast if you do that. Like you'll see that quicker than probably any other fast. Doing a water fast, you'll see the results maybe a little bit quicker. So fasting, when it comes to spirituality and emotions.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This is my favorite reason for fasting. Like, don't get me wrong. Chris and I have battled psoriasis and eczema our entire lives. And it wasn't until we embarked on our plant-based journey, our whole food plant-based journey, that we finally started to heal these things within us and got off all the steroids, got off all the other medications that were keeping us sick, essentially, because they were just masking the symptoms, not treating the root cause. So, you know, the physical stuff was so amazing to finally get relief from, and not only get relief, but to see ourselves improving significantly. I mean, this was incredible. We could use each other as mirrors to monitor our progress, and it was amazing.
And I do want to mention that, you know, although we are very strict whole food plant-based eaters, we are hardcore vegans, you do hit plateaus when you start to, like, you could eat this way for a year window and really see a lot of improvements in your health, and then you'll start to hit a plateau. This doesn't mean you stop eating like this. This means you may want to get into fasting, because fasting will really dig in deeper and help you to get to the root of the problem and to hopefully eliminate the problem altogether. And then getting back on this whole food plant-based journey is absolutely ideal.
Yes. And, you know, let's just be honest, we eat way too damn much in this place. Like, none of us are hungry. You think you're hungry after 3 hours of not eating lunch, and you're angry and shaky because your body is used to that time clock that you've put yourself on. You know, some guy somewhere woke up and said, we need to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks in between. And whoever this guy is set the schedule for the whole entire developed world, and we just stuff our faces, and our bodies aren't meant to eat so much. I know we got all of these calorie counters and obsessions and grams, you know, protein and fat, and guys, our bodies are actually pretty simple, and we just need to treat health simply. And, you know, I know we're giving a lot of details, so I was like, but you're kind of making it complicated. We're trying to remind you how simple it actually really is. Let's think back to what works best naturally for us. But the physical part of fasting and cleansing, that's where you see a lot of the benefits immediately. And like he said, you might plateau on a whole food plant-based diet after you drop like 10 pounds, and then what? That's when you need to dig deeper. But the spiritual and the emotional effects, I mean, this is where you dig into the emotions. This is where you dig into your shadow self. This is where you start to realize that hunger and appetite are not the same thing. And I learned how much of an emotional eater I was, and I had no clue that I was eating out of boredom. I was eating out of excitement. I was eating out of sadness. I was just eating to really eat. I mean, it's not healthy. So once we started fasting, I started to realize my unhealthy relationship with food. And essentially, with any addiction, what void is it that we're filling? There's always something in there that we're filling with these obsessions and these compulsions. And you can find addictions in so many different ways. I want to encourage you to check out our podcast episode with Dr. Anna Yusum on her book, Fulfilled, How the Science of Spirituality, how science and spirituality can give you a more meaningful, happier life, something like that. She's a brilliant psychologist, and we talk about addictions in that episode for just a few minutes. But food is very much an addiction in our culture today. And most of us, I would say, eat when we don't need to, but we think we're hungry because we've confused our appetite with our hunger. And I'm not trying to say that you for sure are this kind of person, but I had no clue that I was until we started fasting strictly for the physical component. We weren't even going into it thinking anything about spirituality or mentality. And through these fasts, I mean, it was like realizations were just popping up out of nowhere. I was starting to see parts of myself that I didn't particularly like, guys. Started seeing parts of him I didn't like either. He's grumpy butt. That's kind of a joke. You know, he got really angry, really frustrated. Those are things that are being stirred up. Like this whole hangry thing isn't a fake, you know, illusion of the mind. We actually get angry. We get sad. We get frustrated. There's a reason for it. There's a reason, and we need to analyze this and dig down deep and see what needs aren't being fulfilled. Why are we feeling this way? For the sheer fact that we just don't have any food for a few days. That's when you want to start to do some self-reflection and self-analyzation. We had some pretty profound realizations through all of the cleanses and all of the fasts. Mine, I would say the most spiritual experiences for me are on the water fasting because it's the most intense for me.
Yeah, I would say definitely water fasting can be the most intense as far as the spiritual realizations and the emotional realizations that you have. And I want to add something here, right? So a lot of us are struggling to find our soul's purpose. We're struggling to find our passions in life. We're struggling to really fit in this world. We're struggling to find connection in this world with everybody. We're so individualistic now. We're so we feel so lonely at times. I know I have on so many different occasions, and we're so bombarded from a young age with demands from our parents, from our teachers, from our leaders, from our peers to tell us how we should live, how we should behave, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Okay, so we're constantly being bombarded with all this information. We get caught up in the societal and family pressures to go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, go on an occasional vacation, and then retire and then die, right? So not to say if you're on that path, that's okay. If you're happy with that path, great. But if you're not, change it, right? And this is what fasting is all about as well. It's about finding that connection. It's about finding that soul purpose. So it's taking time away from every other distraction, everything that you've ever been told, putting your beliefs, putting your values, putting all of that aside and really just going within yourself.
Just existing. I mean, it really is a true break. You know, there's something, it's really funny because we've guided a lot of people through smoothie fasts or cleanses, juice cleanses. People come to us for water fasting questions if they're doing it only for a few days. And where was I going with that?
I don't know.
What was I saying before I said that?
I don't know.
There was a reason.
You'll think of it. But, you know, as we grow older, many of us,
I remember what I was going to say. Sorry. You know, a lot of people that come to us for advice on their cleanses or their fasts, they ask us the same thing. Can I go to work? Can I still do this, do that? Oh, I have a 5K I got to run tomorrow. Will I be able to fast during this? And, you know, obviously we understand that the world's not going to stop turning. Like you have to continue with your daily life. But when doing this fast, this really is a time that you're committing to yourself. Finally, self-care in this world that makes it seem like self-care is selfish. You're finally able to take this time aside for you and relax, for God's sake. Just relax. Put it down. You don't have to go to the gym for 5 days. Guess what, guys? You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to run the 5K during a fast. You don't have to do anything. In fact, one of our favorite things that we did during our water fasts is just lay in bed. Just lay in bed. It sounds lazy because that's what society tells us. But it's one of the most healing experiences to finally admit that maybe you just really need to take a break. And it's like he said, that quiet time, that space, we're not just saying physical space, we're saying mental space. Giving yourself that space truly allows self-healing to happen, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually as well.
And in that time of rest and relaxation, that's where you come to a lot of realizations in your life, and you may question a lot of things, and that's where we want you. We want you to be questioning everything in your life at all times. Always question things, because if you're just following blindly, you're just another sheeple that is just following along with the herd. We don't want you to be that person. We want you to awaken to your power.
Be a visionary, be a change seeker, be a motivator, be whatever it is that your heart desires. You can find what that is. If you're feeling lost, if you're feeling a little confused on who you truly are, putting fasting or cleansing the safest way for your body type is one of the best ways for you to embark on that.
Yeah, and as you've probably seen throughout history, let's take, for example, I'm just trying to think of different religious leaders that we had mentioned and talked about earlier, that fasting is in a lot of religious texts. But for example, the story of Jesus, right? Of him going 40 days and 40 nights of fasting, okay, of not consuming any of these products and going on the spiritual quests. And a lot of spiritual
Buddha allegedly fasted for I don't know how long. Some of you might know. If you do, pop in that.
Gandhi has a lot of quotes on fasting, but there's these spiritual quests, and a lot of people tend to go into nature, right? Go into the wilderness, because nature does teach us a lot of things. So being in nature is also very healing to the soul. So if you're able to do that, I mean, bonus points, even better. But really, at the end of the day, just resting and relaxing. Well, I got a fly on my face. Resting and relaxing while doing these fasts is so, so important.
But even if you can't avoid it, even if you have to go to work and do daily grind things, coming from a place of stillness is where you're going to get that same amount of clarity. You might have to push through some physical exertion. You might feel a little exhausted, more so than someone who has the ability to just rest. But it's all mental state. It's all perspective. You can find that place of stillness and come from that place of stillness instead of expecting everything around you to be still. Trick, right? Because we can't tell the dog down the street to stop barking while we're meditating. We can't. I'm thinking of roosters because of all our time in Africa and all my time spent doing yoga and meditation in the village. You know, I used to give an excuse not to meditate for the sheer fact that there was noise around me. Well, that's dumb. And I had that realization during our ayahuasca experience, but that's another story for another day. But it's the same thing with your physical body as well. You can't necessarily expect the world to stop, you know, going around in circles. You might have to carry forward in your daily grind, and that's fine too. But coming from a place of stillness is going to help initiate that healing.
So as we begin to dig deep within ourselves and address these shadow parts that we're talking about, and really begin to detoxify our bodies on all levels, we feel a greater sense of peace, of lightness, of clarity. A lot of the uncomfortable feelings, the emotions, they start to begin to fade away. And it's like a new light is born. A new light within you is born. And it may not be as profound as maybe we're talking about right now, but it could be just something small, some small realization that maybe it's taken you years to come to, but that small realization can then turn into something a lot bigger. So don't diminish that at all. Like, that is extremely, extremely important.
Absolutely.
So we talked about fasting the physical, we talked about fasting the emotional and the spiritual. Some other benefits, as we said, there's mental clarity, heightened awareness.
Increased patience too. You learn to really take a step back and just allow things to flow.
Things really slow down. So you definitely,
You'll speak slower, you'll hear things slower. We've done quite a few podcast episodes during fasts, and I bet if we looked back on those, we could tell a significant difference in our delivery of words.
Especially water fasting. So breaking sugar cravings and negative health patterns. So a lot of us, you know, are just addicted to that sugar and we want it all the time. And we're talking about refined sugar. We're all addicted to sugar. We need the sugar, but we're talking more about the fruit sugar. The good stuff, baby. The nectar of the gods. Too. That's right. So that's the stuff we really want. But when our body says, oh, I want sugar, that's when a lot of us go and get that Snickers bar or the Skittles or whatever else that, you know, is out on the market these days.
Yeah, you know, fasting really gives you a chance to kind of like reset your taste buds. That's why our Eat to Thrive program always starts with a 7-day juice or smoothie cleanse, because we're about to move them into a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And if before they were eating nothing but hamburgers and hot dogs, their taste buds aren't wired the same as ours. And what we want to do for them, if they desire to be whole food plant-based, is to help them rewire, you know, signals and, you know, taste buds. What they find tastes good later is different than what they found to taste good before. So that cleanse gives you a break from between that greasy ass hamburger to this wonderful quinoa, you know, salad that has a delicious dressing, you know. So that cleanse, it gives you that break, and you start to crave those foods, those vegetables, those fruits. Or if you're just doing water, you're just happy to eat something at the end of those 5 days, and you don't even care what it is. So if it's a healthy quinoa salad.
Well, we'll talk about the prep of fasting, because you don't want to be eating a hamburger and then going into a water fast. You ideally want to be eating a plant-based diet before you go into any sort of fast, because your body is going to have a lot of issues if you don't, and we'll get into the healing crisis in a minute. So other benefits, as we mentioned, weight loss. You do have an increased sense of energy. Okay, so your energy levels really do rise. The 3rd and 4th day can be quite tough for some people. The inner stillness that we talked about, the reduction in inflammation, the clear skin, the immune function, your immune system just rises, right? So the benefits, there's a lot more that we haven't listed, but you can Google that and I'm sure you can find all the benefits. So preparing for a fast. This is kind of where the juicy stuff comes in. If you're thinking about fasting, we're going to tell you kind of how to do this safely and how to kind of move into this space.
Once again, though, disclaimer, always speak to your healthcare provider before embarking on any kind of cleanse or fast, because you might have a certain medical condition that either A, needs to be supervised while fasting or cleansing, or it just isn't a good idea at all. And that's where we would direct you to someone like Dr. Morse.
So how many days? As we mentioned, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and the list goes on. So generally common 5 to 7 days, what a lot of people do, what we recommend. Definitely we're going to see a lot of the benefits. If you want to start off doing a 1, 2, 3 day fast, that's completely fine. It's a good way to ease into it, but that's up to you. You want to decide that and set your goals before doing a fast. Okay, so I had talked about, you know, eating clean and eating more plant friendly leading up to a fast. I can't tell you how important this is. Do not have a hamburger, a hot dog, French fries, onion rings, and diet soda and all the other crap before you go into a fast, because you will pay the price.
And I would say a lot of people that come to us make that mistake. We made that mistake, guys. Our first smoothie fast was horrendous. We weren't vegan yet, and it was awful. It was miserable. And eating the way that we were and then breaking the fast the way that we did was so bad. And we talked to so many people who were like, oh my God, I feel like shit because last night I had a Big Mac and then I did a 24-hour water fast. I'm like, well, yes, that's why you need to prepare.
Okay. So again, eating clean leading up to this, at least 1 to 2 weeks. I would say even more is better, but 1 to 2 weeks. And then after the fact too, after, you don't want to be going into all of the greasy foods and just hopping on that, because you will have a serious wake up call. And I won't get into the details of what that looks like, but trust me, you don't want to do it. So, as we mentioned, rest, take a break from work if you can, take it off of work, be fantastic. But if you can't, we understand. If you want to maybe do it over a weekend where you are resting and taking a break. So we did mention eating clean beforehand and after. Well, that doesn't always stop you from experiencing what we call the healing crisis. And I wrote an article on this. It's on our website. You can check it out. If you go to our blog, you'll see a blog post called The Healing Crisis. And
it's about lessening the severity or the intensity of the experience. Everybody's going to have a healing crisis to some degree. It's just about how.
Well, let's tell them what the healing crisis is. The healing crisis is where we experience some detox symptoms. This could be headaches. This could be nausea. This could be vomiting. This could be cold hands and feet. This could be cold, flu-like symptoms. The list goes on. There's a lot of symptoms that a lot of people experience when doing different types of fasts. So this is not uncommon. This is something that everybody does experience. And as you fast more and more, these experiences become less and less. As you fast more and more and eat more plant-based after your fast and continue to eat that way, these symptoms do generally go away and you really don't experience them. But at first, it is real. Trust me, it is not fun all the time.
No, it's pretty disgusting actually at times.
So you might find yourself on the toilet for a long period of time, and that's okay. That's your body getting rid of the junk that it doesn't need. If your sinuses and you're just like dripping out of your mouth or out of your nose, that's good. You want that. You want all of that mucus and all that phlegm to rid itself of the body. That's your lymphatic system saying, okay, let's drain. Let's get all of this out, right? So this is what a lot of fasting will do for you at first, and you might get a little scared.
Yeah, some people, do get a little fearful at this point. It's like you're sick. It's like you have the flu, but you don't have a fever. It's really odd. Honestly, it's a good sign. If you're feeling, tingly in the middle of the night, or you're waking up with your heart racing, that happens to me a lot when we cleanse and fast. I mean, everybody has different reactions. I have crazy dreams when I'm fasting. They're all the same. I'm always popping some weird gunk out of holes in my body. It's really odd. It's like, and every time I fast, the holes get smaller and smaller, and the least amount of gunk comes out. It's almost like each time I fast, I'm building upon the last one. So you'll have strange symptoms even mentally and emotionally too. It's not just physical.
And I do want to mention that when we do embark on these fasts, every time you do this, your body's healing more and more. And the healing process takes sometimes years, depending upon your conditions, right? So if you're just in an acute state, you have minor conditions, subacute state, just minor, nothing really like you have to worry about. So when we get into the chronic and we start getting into the degenerative states of disease is when it takes a long time to really reverse that. So if you've been, for example, been dealing with a skin issue for 12, 13, 14 years, okay, it's not going to take overnight and you're going to get rid of that. The symptoms may start to disappear, but it's still lurking within the body. So it takes time to reverse that. If you're dealing with more extreme cases, then it could take 3-4 years. But fasting is a good way to get into this.
Absolutely.
And really start the healing process. And that's what we really want to do.
It
does. So we had mentioned all the different types of fast, the water fast, the juice fast, the mono fruit fast, and then the dry fast. We did talk about smoothies. That's more what we call a cleansing. It's not really a fast because smoothies have fiber in them, so your body's still digesting.
Well, so do the mono fruit fast.
Exactly.
But the specific fruits you're using for the mono fruit fast, that's what sets it aside than a smoothie cleanse, because like Keith said, those fruits in a mono fruit fast have wonderful healing properties to them as well, and a lot of them are pre-digested.
Exactly. So if you guys are interested in more about fasting, this book is absolutely incredible. Hopefully,
I think it's backwards for
you can read it. It's called The Transformational Power of Fasting, The Way to Spiritual, Physical, and Emotional Rejuvenation by Stephen Buhner. He's a fantastic, very well-known herbalist, which I love because I am as well, and still learning a lot. And It's something that I try to educate myself on all the time, because there's just so much great information out there on herbs as well, but that's another topic for another night.
We have lots of topics.
We do have lots of topics. So this is fasting. This kind of concludes this video. I'm trying to think of anything else we failed to mention, but we do have a document out there. It's called Fasting 101, right? So this is something that we created to help people get through fasts, to start a fast, and to really get you off the ground and running. If you want a copy of this, just send us a message and we'll send it to you. We don't keep it up on our website because it's kind of for a specific niche of people that really want to get into this stuff. But what we will do is we will email it to you if this is something that you're interested in. And what it will do is it will detail kind of things we've talked about, and then really prepping for a fast, because again, that is the most crucial part of all of this. Besides the fast itself, it's prepping for it.
Absolutely.
So, and again, for our Eat to Thrive program that we do have, it's our 90-day whole food transitioning program, which we are running a group through right now. We have some private clients going through it right now. Everybody's having fantastic results as usual. But if you're interested in that, that is still open. The private enrollment is open. Group enrollment will not begin again until January of 2018. But that does start with a juice cleanse or a smoothie cleanse. So that's something that will also help, again, to reset the body. And you can also enroll in that as well.
Absolutely. So you know what, guys, we do have this live chat over here, and we want to answer your questions. So if we're doing this right, we haven't seen any yet, but if you have any questions, just pop on over there in the live chat and ask us. Now, let's see, we'll test it out. Hello from Soul & Wonder. Perfect. So ours went through. So if you have any questions, please just, and we will answer it.
Yes. And you know what? I know a lot of people think of questions later on. It's something that, oh, shoot, I forgot to ask this, or I just realized this, and on that. You can just always message us on Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. We're always open for business.
We are always open for business.
Being an online business and not a brick and mortar, we don't have doors to close. We are always open, but we do have to sleep. So
we are still human beings. Yes, we do have to sleep.
You sure we are?
I don't know about that. Maybe we just sleep out of habit.
Maybe. And we got a nice little kitty at our door.
Maybe Kit Kat has questions about fasting.
Sounds like she does.
Oh, she reminds me of Molly, the cat who fasts when she's sick. We were talking about this last time, how animals even naturally dry fast when they're sick. Mm-hmm. You'll notice sometimes your animals go under the bed.
That's right.
And just kind of chill out for a few days until they feel better. And then here we are freaking out, forcing them to eat, forcing them to drink.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that's good. I think that means we answered everybody's questions. So
yeah, we'll stop this and we'll send the replay over to Soul & Wonder, and you guys can check it out.
Thanks,
Here, guys.
Thanks for joining us tonight, guys.